Each season, the Loft plans thematic programming, classes, and events. And this winter and spring, the theme is Sense of Adventure. Patricia, you're one of our Sense of Adventure teaching artists. Could you introduce yourself and your class?
Yes, I am Patricia Hoolihan, and my class is Sense of Adventure through First Steps into Writing. So this is a class that I have taught a lot over the years, but this time we will be focusing on how exploring the written word, how exploring through language, exploring stories that we all carry inside of us is a form of internal adventuring and external because you're interacting with the world too and writing about the world also, but writing as an adventurous first step into the unknown.
So, what does adventure mean to you, especially in the sense of literary arts?
Yes, so adventure to me really means going places, doing things one hasn't done before, or doing things one's done before with a new perspective or a new lens. So I really think of reading as an adventure. And I know when my kids were in grade school, like they had reading adventure series because reading takes you into whole different worlds that you might not know in any other way. And writing definitely is an exploration of whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. And I do a lot of nonfiction, so I lean that direction. Writing to find out what you have to say, writing to find out how you interact with the world, why you interact with the world the way that you do, and just writing to find out what are the stories that you carry inside your body, because I think we all carry many stories inside of us, and writing is a way to tap into the important ones.
So, you touched on this a little bit, but do you have a specific personal story of adventure?
Well, I was thinking about this question. I love these adventure questions, by the way. And I am also really an active person in the outdoors, the natural world, and that to me is the exterior adventure. I think there's interior and exterior, and sometimes they bleed together quite beautifully. But the one that came into my mind as I was thinking about this was I ran a marathon. I ran the Twin Cities Marathon when I was in my 30s, and this was quite an adventure. I think often adventure is posing this question to yourself, can I do this? And what will it be like to do this? Like in travel, what would it be like to go somewhere? Or if you push yourself to do something that's a challenge. Will I be able to do this? So I did trained for, ran this marathon, and also in maybe months before the actual marathon, as I was training, I was having a conversation with my parents about it, and my father actually said to me, "Girls shouldn't run that far." 26.2 miles. And so for me, it was like breaking the barriers of all those messages I'd had about what I, as a girl, should do or shouldn't do. In the end, I love my father. He came around, he was supportive, but just the fact that that was the message. Just to actually cross that finish line, to do the teamwork, run with my friends, we helped each other get through it, was really a powerful experience. And I wrote a lot about it. It was so it was both the external and the internal. And I think that's why I chose that as a personal adventure story. I mean, there are many, but that's one that really combines the external and the internal.
Yeah, I feel like empowering on a lot of different levels there.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. If I could do that, what else could I do?
There
Yeah.
you go. So, and going off of that message, but telescoping out a little bit from yourself, why do you think the idea of adventure is such an enduring and universal topic?
Well, I just think it's part of the adventurous spirit is what has allowed the human species to grow, develop, sustain ourselves. I think adventure is how we both survive and thrive. So when I was thinking about this too, one of the adventurous things I did in my life was take flying lessons. I think about the Wright brothers. How did they envision flight? I mean, they were truly adventurous people to imagine that, to make it happen, to be willing to risk their lives trying to make that happen, and what they opened up for all of us. I love flight. It's one of my things. And so I just think that the human species has been able to, you know, fly. I mean, airplanes amaze me. Space exploration, and then of course so many other fronts. I think it's the spirit of adventure, and as I was thinking about this, I think it's highly motivated by curiosity. And that is, I think, important to writers and inventors and creators of all sorts. What would happen if I tried this? What would happen if I made this? What would happen if I wrote this? What would happen if I tried this kind of music? What might happen if I tried this kind of painting? Just the curiosity that opens doors to new ways of being and new ways of creating in the world.
Right now, unfortunately, a lot of our traditional thoughts about what adventure is isn't really possible with COVID and the pandemic. And so when we're faced with this isolation and this anxiety, how do you manage to hold on to that sense of adventure?
Well, that is a really great question. And I feel like it has forced me to be adventurous inside of the limitations. So I every summer for the last 30 years, our family's gone to Canada. We have a place in Canada, and we swim in Lake Huron all summer long. And I love Great Lakes swimming. It's very expansive. That is adventurous. We couldn't cross the border this year. So I swam in city lakes. I live in Minneapolis. I swam in the city lakes, and I learned, even though it's not as clean and as vast and deep as Great Lakes, they're still pretty darn good. And I felt grateful I could hop on my bike, go to the lakes. On the 4th of July, my husband and I decided we would swim 4 city beaches on the 4th of July. So that was kind of an adventure. We just hopped on our bikes. We did Lake Harriet, we did one on Bede Muskaka, we did 2 beaches on Cedar Lake. And like, we never would have done that if it weren't for COVID. Well, we would have been swimming on Lake Huron. But also the other thing that I've done, and this is all kind of outdoor stuff, but I've explored a lot of the trails in Minneapolis and the lake trails. Theodore Wirth, I've always skied Theodore Wirth. I'm also a big cross-country skier, but hiking there in the fall and the summer has brought a lot of consolation, actually. And I've seen more bald eagles in the time of COVID than I have seen for years before that, because I'm out more. I'm out on the trails more. And even though I live in the city, there's an abundance of beautiful trails. So I feel like I've explored Minneapolis in new ways because of COVID. I also, more internally, I mean, writing has been really important to keep me going, really important. And in the classes I've been teaching, I just have loved hearing how people are grappling with it. I think writing is a huge solace. I also play piano, so I've challenged myself to learn. Currently, I'm working on a new Beethoven sonata, which is like 20 pages long, but it's a very good challenge. So
Yeah, you have the time.
yeah, exactly. Exactly, yes. So I think of all of those as ways that I have been able to adventure inside of the limitations of COVID, of which there are so many, so many, and so many losses. Those, I feel like writing is a way to kind of, what I want to say, work with loss, work with the losses, and then being outside is also a way of sort of finding solace and comfort, and piano is also comforting for me too. So yeah.
And what would you say is maybe 1 or 2 primary goals or takeaways that you want students to gain from your class?
Well, one of the things I love about teaching this particular class is watching people sort of have little sparks of connections with their own material, their own memories, their own ability to put words together. And so my takeaway I mean, what I really hope for with any student in my class is that they make discoveries that they wouldn't have made on their own, that the class and the exercises help them discover their own abilities, their stories, their, connections, things that are important to them, and explore it in a new way. Language is wonderful for that. Can be very illuminating and uplifting. And so I would hope that the the language work that we do, the space that I help create, helps encourage that in all of my students.
Well, Patricia's class is just one of our Sense of Adventure classes that we're offering this winter and spring. You can find all of them on the Loft website, loft.org. Thank you so much for being with us today, Patricia. It was wonderful to meet you, and learn more about your class.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.